guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am very excited to start this new series. I don't have a title for it yet, but I wanted to talk about my experiences as a caregiver and to kind of, every week cover a different topic around caregiving. For those of you who do not know, I was my dad's caregiver when he was terminally ill with pancreatic cancer. I was his primary caregiver for 8 months, which isn't that long, but I learned a lot. It was obviously a life-changing experience, and through that I realized how taboo, maybe taboo's not the right word, but not a lot of people talk about it, about caregiving, about hospice, or death even. It's a very foreign concept to people until they're thrusted into it, and usually you're thrusted into caregiving. It's not like a gradual thing unless you choose it as a career path. So I wanted to make these videos to break down some barriers to what caregiving is like through my own personal experience. Obviously it varies with people. Some people are caregivers their whole lives. Some people, like me, are only caregivers for a couple months. Some are young. I was 19. Some are older, like I think the median age is like 50. So I just wanted to share my personal experiences and each week cover a different topic that I went through as a caregiver, focusing more on being a caregiver to a terminally ill person, with cancer, and hopefully just give some insight to people. And I want this to be a safe space for people to be able to comment their experiences, to learn, to ask questions. I'm just here to provide my knowledge of the topic. So for the first video, I thought I would just give the definition of a caregiver, because there are so many different types of caregivers. So firstly, there are unpaid caregivers, which are usually like family caregivers, and then there are paid caregivers, which that is their job. I mean, not that it's not a job for us, but they go into that profession. I know in New York there is like paid family leave or paid family care, where you as a family member could be a caregiver to somebody and get paid, but for me, I was an unpaid caregiver. So when you are a caregiver, you are the person who is most often there to care for the said person who has an illness or some sort of disability. You are their person. And I say that kind of vaguely because caregiving can range from a person being very independent, but they, need help getting to treatments, or, as with my dad, he was very independent in the beginning, but then at the end he needed, much more assistance from me physically, emotionally, mentally. Or caregivers could be with somebody who has severe disabilities, and they, they need constant 24/7 care, which much more medically involved and just much more, involved in general. Speaking from my personal experience, I was my dad's primary caregiver. So in the beginning, when he was sick, he had pancreatic cancer, and with pancreatic cancer, if you don't know, most of the times you don't really feel sick, and then a very vague symptom will come up, and when you get it checked, it's usually very advanced. My dad had back pain, and it was already stage 4 cancer and had spread through his entire body. So even though his body was riddled with cancer, he was still very much independent, very much wanted to be at his doctor's office visits alone, very much wanted to, keep working, be in charge of his medication. And, at that point, I just had to step back and be like, I'm here to support you. As the months went by and he started chemo and, became physically unable to do things, to eat, to even know what kind of nutrition to put into his body, to handle kind of day-to-day house activities, to make doctor's appointments, to go to doctor's appointments, to help him make decisions regarding his health, that's when I stepped in. I would say like 90% of my caregiving was more of the physical aspect, was more helping him get up, helping him get dressed, helping him make food, helping him, driving him to treatments. But I would say 10%, it's probably more than 10%, was also an emotional, mental caregiver, because they're going through a lot, and somebody who's terminally ill, it's hard to accept the medical professionals that were around us were kind of vague with what was happening, so there kind of wasn't a stable answer of where his health was going. It was obviously declining, but we kind of didn't know how fast or what to do. That instability falls on the caregiver to kind of just provide stability, even if it's just encouraging words or, you know, looking up articles to comfort them or to just, you know, brighten up their day with something special for them. That's where the more emotional and mental part of it comes in. I really enjoyed being a caregiver. It was difficult, I'm not gonna lie. It was difficult every day. You are on call 24/7 with no pay, which sucks, but I was so happy that I was able to spend the last 8 months of my dad's life with him, and to be there and to see his body change and to be able to at least be the person to step back and observe the situation for him, because a lot of times he was very it's like when you're in it, it's very hard to grasp, you know, do I go to the hospital with this symptom? What do I do with this? What do I do with that? As a caregiver, I was able to step back and make clear decisions for him, which is so fulfilling, because there are so many times that he, you know, wasn't feeling well, didn't really know what to do. Every time that I was able to step back and say, you need to go to the hospital, he went to the hospital, and it ended up being something that he needed treatment for. It was a big relief off of his chest that, in a way, being his caregiver gave him the autonomy to be cognizant of the decisions he needed to make for himself, if that makes sense. But yeah, that was my personal experience. Just a very tip of the iceberg, basic what it was like being a young caregiver. And I should also point that out, I was 19 when I was a caregiver. Young caregivers are defined from being the ages of 8 to 18, so I was a little bit out of that category, but it is noted that the average caregiver age is actually dropping. It was, I think, 53 years old, and it a couple years ago now it has dropped to 47 years old, because more young people are stepping up and taking care of their family members. Like I said, it's not really a talked about topic, especially with young people, because people assume that, you know, there are other people to take care of family members, but when that's not the case, a lot of kids have to step up and do it. And like I said, ages 8 to 18, there was a study in 2005 that said that there was an estimated like 1.2 or 1.3 million young caregivers from 8 to 18, and there hasn't really been a study since then, so it's an extremely untalked about topic. And there are over 1 million children, because I wasn't a child. I was 19. I was considered an adult. I had rights to vouch for him in the hospital and to drive and to have a job and all the things. There are so many children who are literal children who have to be caregivers for their siblings or their parents, and they have no rights because they're children and they can't get a job, they can't drive. Like I said, they can't be a superior to somebody even though they are put into that role. So it's a very untalked about topic, and there's very little support with it. Hopefully talking about my story will just make people aware that caregivers are getting younger every year, and that it's a pretty big part of our society, and there are a ton of us who are young millennials and Gen Zs who are not selfish snowflakes, but are actually badass mofos who are stepping up and taking care of their family in times of need. So with that, I will leave you with my first video of my caregiving series. If I think of a name, or if you guys have a name for this series, please leave a comment down below. I'm really excited to talk about my experience and to talk about taboo topics. And if you guys have any questions or any ideas for videos or something you want me to talk about, again, please leave it in the comments down below. I love you guys. I will see you next video, and I will be interspersing these kind of heavy topic videos with some fun New York videos. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.